And welcome back to Jeff Grenange live here at Citizen Television. On the bench today, we're talking about how to mitigate the floods. How can we stop the madness that's going on out there? Close to 180 lives lost so far countrywide. What's the government doing? What are we doing? What can we do? On the bench, the Cabinet Secretary for the East African Community, Arid and Semi-Arid Lands and Regional Development, Penina Malonza, on the bench. And right beside her is Dr. Isaac Kalua-Green. He's from Green Africa. He's also an entrepreneur, environmentalist, climate change activist. And yes, he knows a thing or two about disaster management. Talk about the way forward. These floods aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Can we mitigate? Madam CS, a lot of people are complaining that, or rather they're saying, you know what, telling people to move upstream or to move to higher ground makes no sense because they can't even afford a meal a day. Where do they go? If the relatives are not upstream, where do they go? They have nothing.
Basically, as I've said, is that we are telling them to evacuate the places where they can actually face the danger of much waters, flowing downstream. And of course, we're not just blind on the fact that they may not have anything to eat. But what you're asking is that we have good neighbors, we have good relatives who can take them in. And for the very dire scenarios where we have a population that cannot afford a meal, we have a number that they can actually dial and actually communicate to the government that they need food, and we will be there to supply.
What's the number?
0800 721 571.
0800 721 571.
Yeah.
And someone will respond?
Yes. And
they'll get them food or blankets or shelter? Or...
Yes, they will report to us, the emergency response department, and we'll move with speed. Like today, I've just told you that I got a call from Machakos, Mwala County, right. And I was told that a man is somewhere in an island, marooned in a place called, I think, Dunyo Sampok. And we've already activated our response mechanisms to have, I've already called the IG, who is already mobilizing a chopper probably very early in the morning. The man will be removed from that, will be rescued.
He'll be picked up
he will
by
be
the
rescued.
chopper?
Yeah.
Hey, like I'm wishing
I've done that.
Come on.
It's not the first case.
Where?
I rescued a man in Makueni. You remember the 7 women who were swept away? We had to send, response there. You remember in Mavoko the other day? I sent a boat there through IG. Actually, 2 boats. One from the police defense and the other one from Red Cross. So we activate very fast. As long as we get the information, we move with speed.
Speaking of boats, you saw what happened in Garissa.
Yes.
Remember that disaster?
Yeah.
Huh?
We're still missing 6 people.
Still?
Yes.
And of course, 3-4 days later, they are feared dead.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's not going to get better because even in the Garissa-Nairobi highway has been washed away.
But you see, again, people should take caution because this is a businessman who actually took his 2 boats there and overloaded people. I believe these are very simple, things that we ought not to do as Kenyans. Because when we talk about floods, if you look at some of the scenarios, how we've lost lives, for example, the lorry that was in Makueni, really, that's the same spot where I was in November. Last year, where 7 women were swept away. It is because just they decided to, venture in crossing that swollen river. And again, these 20 people in this lorry, they saw very well that the waters were rough. And they decided just to go on top of a lorry that was already loaded, and they lost their lives. And their colleagues would tell them, rest in peace, because you're going to die. And imagine they could not listen to those voices. So we're saying, each one of us must take care. Yeah.
Dr. Kalua-Green, are we kind of reckless when it comes to these things? Or we don't pay attention to the weatherman? We don't pay attention to anything, and then we try to cross rivers in cars thinking, oh, I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it. Are we a little reckless here?
We need, as a country first, to knit the relationship that we have for each other. the respect for humanity.
Because we've lost it.
The people who are drowning today, they are not drunkards. These are very responsible people going out to search for food for their people. They are faced with a situation that a man's got to do what a man must do. And if it is a river, they will face it and go. The moment we first of all work on knitting our nation to Ubuntu, we will win it. Situations, and I give it up to the government what they are doing, and we must focus on solutions. They are doing the best. The minister is doing the best. She's got everything at her fingertips, including the numbers that we must be able to call. But if the moment we knit our relationships, where a chopper is needed to save a life, people will do it. People will even connect their dresses and their lassos and everything and throw to the person to save and pull them out. That is the reality. We need to be able to look at what we are doing, how we are doing it, when we are doing it. This country has got systems. This country has got professionals. This country has got people who are dedicated to save their lives and the lives of their families. They exist. When the weatherman says that there is going to be this situation, it also is accompanied by the actions that are supposed to be taken during that situation. We need to take it seriously. The emergency team and committee that the minister has, the government has created, must be a permanent commission, must be a permanent body. Whichever rain falls, whether short or long, it must be activated to go and make sure that the dikes are in their place, that the people who are living in spaces that they are not to be living in, they are dealt with, that there is enough medication, that there is food, there must be a mobilization of experts. Jeff, there is a role that is played by the weatherman, the meteorologist. When you are constructing a road and building a bridge, you must call the engineer for the purpose of that. You need also to get a meteorologist. You need also to get a geologist, so that even the water levels of flooding levels are proper. Why are our bridges being washed away? Just because we worked on matters that are not right, some form of corruption took place. Yeah. The level of the bridge should have been higher. Even the least of the rains sweep bridges and get people marooned. Just because we are not involving. All earth scientists must be put in place. The geologists, the meteorologists, any other space. I hope you read the book that I gave to you.
Absolutely.
The geography.
Absolutely. And, you know, touching on that point of corruption, what people do is they cut corners, not thinking that this day will come, these floods will come, these rains will come. They don't think that way. But when it comes.
The action, and this is what I'm saying, of bringing our people together, that when you're an engineer, when you're doing whatever you're doing, even passing the list, which is called the waterproof material. How many people in this country have their houses leaking for a product that was passed to be in the market?
Yeah.
You go so innocently, you believe that the standards have been met. You use a product, your house is leaking, the structural integrity is broken, you're gone. You have experts who are supposed to guide and make sure that this process has been done in the best way. They get on the ground and they cut shortcuts, money is diverted, and we keep saying, oh, there is a crisis that we have built for our own people.
And that's where leadership comes in.
Yeah, that's where leadership comes in. I agree with him, but partly because if you look at the projects that we do in this country, we do public participation. And it's actually the role of the Kenyans. The money that the government has are taxes that we get from the Kenyans. So when we are doing the public participation, I think the citizens have a right to stop even a project. So we will not sit and say there's a lot of corruption, yet we are doing nothing. The government will do its part, and you have heard the president pronounce himself very well on this agenda of corruption. But also we are asking our fellow Kenyans, because corruption is all over. Even with the small kids, you send them to the shop and they are coming back with less balance. So we are saying each one of us must take, action. Is not only, and I can quote this, and I dream one day, I've been a deputy governor, and one of the things that I looked forward to do was, we cannot continue in this country building houses without collecting water in that houses. I've gone to towns in small markets in the counties where a governor is coming up to do gullies in a town or a soko, yet you can see very well these people are not collecting water, and it's actually the iron sheets that are actually causing all the water collected there, cutting gullies in there, and we spend more than 5 million to do those gullies. Yet in the next rain season, we'll go back. Yeah. If I become a governor today, I will actually make a law through the county assembly, and nobody will build a house without some collection, water collection, I will give the gutters, or I'll give the tanks, and then, of course, the person can put the cost of building that house and a water collection system within that. Because basically, these are just simple things. If we start all this water, we will not just count a road that is actually giving us much water, but also those small houses are also giving us, giving us a lot of water. And so we have to take count on the small things that matter. Again, on the matters of security is a matter of each one of us. And I like the way I went for this first aid training, where we were told that you have to make sure that you are safe before you even save somebody else. And I agree with him that the Ubandu is not there, because for me, I think that road to go to that river, people were there. And I looked at the multitude that was left, aboard. There were so many, they would have stopped the driver by force. I tell him, we are not going to watch you risk all this. Look at the boat. They would have actually stopped that guy. I say, we will not watch you. But people are in rush. Where are they going? Because sometimes they are going home. It's not looking for food. I can tell you for sure. Not all those who died were looking for food. No. Some were rushing to market. Some were going somewhere they could not wait for the water to subside. So we are saying Kenyans are patient. At least wait for 30 minutes. All rivers in this country, if they are full, they will only run for 30 minutes, and the waters will go low. So we are saying also, let's have patience as Kenyans, and let's also be there to protect others. Some people may not have, they may not think about their lives, but we are there to protect them and make sure that they don't go into those waters. Yeah, and of course sensitize. We have to sensitize our people, including, passing this information to our young kids. Yeah.
Madam CS, have you just announced that you're running for governor?
No.
I just sort of...
No. No, it was an advice that I'm giving to my fellow governor.
I was going to tell you that you missed it, that
no.
She just made the announcement that she's coming for it. No, I'm just saying the translation of the words.
At that time, because I was not the top leader, I was really yearning to pass this decision.
If you were governor...
I think don't label it. I think the announcement is done.
No, there's no announcement. I don't think there is. I'm just saying that from an experience of being a deputy governor. At that time, I really yearned to see the stop of that much waters and a lot of money going to, leveling of our grounds. Yet we can do something. If it's in our school, we are called every time. We go and do the leveling of the ground. Yet we can actually provide this school with water tanks. We can, harvest all that water, and we avoid coming there back every day with 2 million or so.
Absolutely.
So I believe these are small solutions that every one of us could food. Just the same way we have said we need to plant trees. And you've heard the president talk about the billion, the 15 billion trees. And I'm very happy Isaac Karua is here. I've actually asked him how many he's speaking from that number. What number is he running with? And he has told me, he just said we plant trees of our age, which I think is a slogan that he has used, and I agree with him. Yeah. But I think he can do more of that campaign so that we can also plant the trees. I've actually challenged him and told him I've already done 1,000, and I'm doing in the next 1 month, I'm doing 10,000. Personally. But what I'm doing is fruit trees. And you had asked me a question about now is El Nino or much water, but then we are now going to go to a drought. Yes. And what we are doing, we are actually asking ourselves very serious questions on, we've seen the seasons of El Nino, we've seen the seasons of drought in this country, and we know actually, we can even calculate the next drought that is coming in this country. And so what we are doing in the arid and semi-arid lands, perspective is that, and of course I'm in charge of 23 counties that are arid and semi-arid. So what we are doing, we are building what we are calling resilience programs. We are addressing the root cause. Last time I was here as a Minister for Wildlife and Tourism, I told you I am a woman who addresses root causes. We cannot solve things by addressing the symptoms. We have to go to the root cause. And so we are doing programs, we are doing resilience programs that are going to see these communities, begin meeting their needs in the best way that they can. We are also making sure that we provide resources, if it is in this arid. And I want to challenge Kenyans. Kenya has lived on 30% of the land of this nation. That is agricultural land. Yet we have a whole 70% in the arid and semi-arid lands where we can do a lot of farming. We can harvest all this water that is flowing today, and we do a lot of farming there. I was challenged by Uganda the other day on the side of Karamajong. We are actually doing, I told you I'm the CS for East Africa, we are doing a program together because we've learned that Museveni is doing some dams on the other side, and we've come together, and we're also doing, because of the challenge of, our pastoralists crossing over to the greener land and, causing a lot of conflict with their fellow Karamajong. And so what we are doing are the resilience programs where we are going to see these communities develop, livelihoods that they will sustain themselves. But also the government is coming in a very big way, where we are doing the water funds. We are also trying to venture into seeing the pastoralists in this country for the first time. In all this time we've gained our independence, we've never seen a president who has actually focused a program for pastoralists. This time we are doing one, and we're calling it feedlots, where we are actually coming up with 5,000 acres, and we develop it as government. We plant grass. We also do larger dams where we can bring in livestock, and they can feed from there, from the communities. And we fatten them there, and the government takes care of, veterinary services. And of course, we also make sure that we are marketing. We're doing marketing. We make sure that you're pulling together the pastoralists to form circles, and we build an economy. And I can tell you, also arid land and semi-arid is the next frontier of this country. If we are going to develop as a country, this is an area that we cannot miss. We are going to focus on this area for farming. We are going to build resilience for our pastoralist communities, and we are going to make sure all these BLS, bilateral agreement we have signed with Indonesia, with Middle East, for us to take meat there, then this is the community that is going to really work on those, on fulfilling those bilaterals that we have done. And remember, Kenya is number 3 in terms of livestock. And so we've seen small countries like Algeria and other countries, exporting more of their meat, and Kenya is there. This is a potential we've not exploited, and this is an area that we're going to exploit. And in my rank as a cabinet secretary in arid and semi-arid, we are working very hard. to make sure that we develop that. So basically, we are going to address that agenda of drought that way, because we are going to pull. What we have seen is we lose a lot of livestock during that time. We are also doing a program for restocking for these communities, because while we have a lot of challenges in some of these pastoralist communities, we are hearing there's a lot of, conflict. It's because one community wakes up and realizes that all their livestock has died because of drought. And then they reach out to the next community to steal their livestock. And so we have a program where we can solve this conflict, where if a community has lost, we can restock. But more than restocking, then we are looking forward on a sustainable mode where we can put them in a feedlot, and they will bring their cattle there. They will bring their livestock. It's not that we are going to buy from outside. It's not that we are going to bring, investors. We can only do that where probably the community is not willing to bring.
Right. Dr. Kulwa Green, do you like what you're hearing, or is this just talk? Because sometimes, they talk the talk. Are they walking the walk?
Okay. So thank you very much. And I love the fact that the minister has said that she partly appreciates and agrees with what I have said. So I want to bring it down so that she will say whether she agrees with it or not. There is the plan, a great plan. Between the plan and the people, there is a big difference. There is no connection. It is not because of the president. I recently had lunch with the president, with the chairman of the Economic Council and the head of climate change, the four of us. And you could listen to the passion that the president has for this nation and the way that he has chosen to make hard decisions. And at one point, it was an open discussion between us, and I believe it can be said, he was talking about how much he is paying electricity of about 600,000 Kenya shillings per month when there is sun, and he can be able to start changing of that. That is the president. He can say, Kenya Power, please deal with this bill. But he is thinking of how he can use a natural way to deal with that problem and how he wishes that Kenyans can have the same. That's our president. I was talking to him about the Green Africa villages and what I am doing about the natural water retention and recharging of boreholes, something that I have done practically. He was excited. So were the other two members of the team. The president's commitment is total, whether you love him or not. Where is the problem? The problem starts at the execution point. Talk about what she has just talked about, the billion trees, 15 billion trees. How has it been done? What is lacking is the personalization of the process. When the president planted trees at Ngong, he planted only 56 trees, meaning trees of his birth. A tree per year, a concept that he himself started when we first planted the 71 trees of Wangari Maathai at university. He was the starting point of that. He did that successfully. Let's get to the ministers. Planting trees, I believe that Madam Malonza, she's in charge of Meru. Mr. Mutua is in charge of Kilifi. Another minister from a place that is not known is, it could be coming to Machakos. So when she goes to Meru, the people would, oh, is that the lady who brings mitumba, or who is she? Because they don't know her. If she was planting the trees in Kitui where she is known, if she was growing grass that she can sell to the Ministry of Livestock, so that the people can see that she's actually making money out of growing grass that can be planted for animals. She's actually growing trees, nurseries in her own farm, where she goes by road, not by plane.
Right.
People would believe her. People would say, I also want to make money out of the tree seedlings that she's making. I would like to use my farm to grow pigeon peas because I know where she will take, I will take. I will want to build the bridge because there is a budget in the county budget for building the bridge, and items have been isolated. This circle of stones can be brought by the community around. And that will make the process cheaper. The bridge will be done at a higher level. The committee that is from that specific place of surveyors and geologists will say, no, this bridge is not well done. How much are we investing to let the people know that there is a project here? You wake up one day, you find there's a project that has been set up there. You are not asked. The so-called public commitment or public participation is just something that the MCA came there and said, we are going to do this. What kind of public participation is that? People need to be involved at the point where it matters, at the point where they can place money on their table. Not just talk that looks political and in a sense, and we can change this country. We can, Jeff, we can.
I hear you.
We can.
You're talking the talk right there. You're talking the talk. And now, you know what?
Let's go with the people.
Let's go with the people.
Yeah.
Let the people decide.
Yes.
We're going to take a break, come back and get reactions from the people that you're talking about. Lots of reactions coming from across the country and across the world on Jeff Koinange Live. We're talking to Cabinet Secretary Penina Malonza and Dr. Isaac Kalua Green right here on the topic of floods. Where do we go from here? Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff. At Citizen TV Kenya, the hashtag is JKLIVE. JKLIVE takes a break. We'll be back in a moment.